This is the Hypothetically Sound podcast, hosted by Alec, Kevin, Randy, and Xavier. A show that explores the maybes, how comes, and what ifs of life. Join in on the unfiltered, raw, and real conversations today.
Welcome back to another episode. Thank you for tuning into another one of our Earth's Wonders and Mysteries series. Today, guys, we are going to look at the mystery that is Atlantis. Now, before we get I don't know. I don't know. Scared me a little bit.
Anyways,
before we get into the history and some facts and stuff about Atlantis, what do you guys know about Atlantis?
mermaids.
It's under the water, under the sea.
Yeah.
Better. Under the sea.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Copyright. No. So mermaids and undersea. Anything else you know about it?
Fuck, we're cringe. Can we start over?
That it's a myth.
It's a myth? You think it's a myth?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's a myth, but a lot of people say it's a myth or a fairy tale or a legend, rather.
Yeah. What do you say, Alec?
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people say it's a myth or it's used, like, obviously, Xavier was singing Little Mermaid, or in comic book things like Aquaman, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely used as a dream location for heroes that revolve around water, mysterious happenings. It's crazy why I think this is a perfect one for Earth's Wonders and Mysteries is this fairy tale, this area that has never been found, never been seen, has been evolving and in our like mainstream media for hundreds of thousands of years. Like this came from Plato. He had one of his two dialogues, one of his works back in 300 BC. So like that tells you how long this has been going on for. And it's always coming up. People are always trying to say that they found it or they know where it's located. And like I said, so it's from Plato in his work. He described area, and everybody when they think of Atlantis, they think of like extraordinary locations and this magical place that was great. But that's not what Plato described at all. Plato described a society that overreached itself. They were rich, powerful, wealthy, technology advanced, military power, and they just kind of destroy themselves. Something that is really like he was kind of warning people of his generation, the Greeks and things like that. And it's, I think, a reason why it's so powerful and stays around so long is it's a tale that it's literally as old as time. Like we have nations that rise, that become too powerful and too arrogant, and then fall. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, history repeats itself, right? So it definitely is a story that fits a lot of current and past time, and therefore keeps itself relevant due to being similar.
Yes, I concur. Couldn't have said it better.
So
You
a lot
didn't
of
answer it.
Wait, what did he say?
piggybacker, you piggybacked.
Okay, all right. He said everything that it needed to be said, and I agree 100%.
So a lot of people use Plato's work as proof that Atlantis was just a plot device in his stories, mostly because, one, they haven't found any place that is similar to what he wrote about, and they can't line it up with any Greek civilization that went away. That is one of the things around Atlantis, is that they're saying that since Plato didn't actually make up this story, there's rumors, proof, or whatever that he got the idea of Atlantis from his grandfather, got it from a traveling man. So like this was a handed down story to Plato, and it just happened that Plato wrote about it and people loved it and have used it to now. So that's one idea around Atlantis, is it was just a Greek civilization that was very powerful and then just disappeared. Like the civilization died, just like many things in our world. And they just moved on. So now I found a cool article that I think would be fun to go through. It's the top 6 theories about Atlantis. So we'll just go through them real quick and talk about them and see if any of them actually make sense. So the first one was Atlantis was a mid-Atlantic continent that suddenly sucked into the ocean. That's obviously the biggest theory around Atlantis, is that it was there one day and then it just fell into the Atlantic Ocean, which is a few hundred feet deep. One great writer, Donnelly, described a continent floating by shifting ocean waters that sank into the exact location Plato said it did, which is the Pillars of Hercules.
Yeah. I think that if Atlantis is real, that's probably most likely what happened. I mean, California is about to be Atlantis 2.0, you know, anytime actually. So,
well, it's kind of, with Pangea and things like that, and the concept behind, the Earth splitting, kind of separating that way. It's almost inevitable that there were small pieces or pieces and parts that probably fell off or sunk into what we know as the oceans now. So it seems plausible.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. I think that's the leading theory. If it did exist and it was so advanced, if it was on an island still above sea level, we would have found some kind of evidence of their building, their science or whatever, just like the Mayans, just like the ancient Egyptians. So then the second theory goes back to our previous episode of the Bermuda Triangle. So many people inspired by Plato and Donnelly's works have moved on to it and said that they believe Atlantis was swallowed by the Bermuda Triangle, and that is what causes many of the disturbances in the Bermuda Triangle. Is this area, their island was full of magic and science, and whenever someone goes around it, it causes all kinds of issues, like we talked about in the previous episode.
Could make some sense.
I was going to say that's also a possibility.
Yeah, like we say, because it has the deepest area in the world, so definitely could be whatever down there, and we just would never see it. The third one, I think, is actually a cool one that I've never heard until I saw this article. Atlantis was Antarctica. So
can't confirm, never been to Antarctica.
True. This is based off of the work of Charles Hapgood. He wrote a book in 1958 that kind of followed some stuff that Einstein said. He believed around 1,200 years ago, the Earth's crust shifted, displacing Antarctica from being a part of the northern continents. And when that happened, the civilization was on that continent and it moved too far south and it froze them. And a bunch of the Atlantis things are buried under layers and layers of ice that we just can't find.
It's actually a super dope theory, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it would lead some credence to, the inability to find any sort of concrete evidence of its existence.
Yeah, I think I like that theory more than it being underwater, too. I think it's just a little bit more badass.
I definitely think the theory of it being underwater is still creditable. I mean, there's definitely places, I think there still depths that we haven't even searched?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think the deepest we've gone was what, or at least deepest man was James Cameron's submarine is the deepest man we've went, and I think we sent a machine like maybe a few hundred feet farther down than that, and there were still thousands of feet deeper into the ocean. I mean, I remember seeing a video that shows like the depths that we traveled or of the ocean, and like pretty basic ocean before it even gets dark can fit the Empire State Building in it. Like, so like definitely can fit probably a continent there. And then
and some,
like I think it was like 10 to 12 Empire State Buildings before you get to where there's no light, where no light can reach. And so like there's so much that we can't possibly see in the darkness of the ocean.
What kind of spooky, scary things live down there?
Right?
Yeah, I'd rather just not find out
You're right.
anytime.
I'm cool never knowing. But I think the Antarctica one would be really cool. Obviously, people have used that theory for different movie plots. Like you can think of Transformers, the Transformer that's stuck down in Antarctica that they bring back up to the dam in Vegas. So yeah, I think that would be a cool one, and it would make sense. Like, there's still a lot of Antarctica that we don't know, and so it's totally plausible, unlikely but plausible. So the next theory is that the story of Atlantis was just a retelling of the Black Sea flood. So this theory is assuming that Atlantis is fictional, but it was just a retelling of the story of the Black Sea. The Black Sea was a freshwater lake, half its current size, so it was smaller. And when it flooded a civilization, and they just went away. And so it's kind of a retelling of a civilization that lived somewhere they shouldn't have, and they thrived in that location, but then it caught up to them in the end. So it's really not a theory or like a theory you can dive into, but it's just that could be just someone rewriting works. We do that often in this age.
That's for sure.
The next one is Atlantis is the story of the Minoan civilization, which flourished in the Greek islands from 2500 to 1600 BC. So a good, what was that, 1300 years before Plato wrote the story. Another powerful Greek civilization that lived. The picture they're showing is like looks like a horseshoe island in the middle of the ocean. Is one of the most recent theories for it. Apparently, they were a very powerful civilization that was named after their king Mios. They're believed to be Europe's first great civilization. They built palaces, constructed roads, were actually the first Europeans to use written language. And it says at the height of the power, they just disappeared, which always turns out to be, I think it more revolves around we just lose track of documents, but apparently they just disappeared, and they think that it could have been because of a earthquake or a volcano eruption that just took them out, or tsunamis, because they were in the middle of the ocean.
Interesting. What if they're just like left? They just bounced. They're smart enough to see that it was going down, and they just like had a boat, and they spread out throughout Europe, and that was it.
Which would happen if you think about, like, if you have to where you're thriving at, you go to another person's place, you're not just going to all of a sudden take it over unless you're coming with military power. You're going to have to fit in, and so
adapt,
you can still go someplace and be wealthy and just live well, and your people just live. So yeah, I definitely think that's a plausible one where they just up and left because the place wasn't inhabitable anymore. And then the final theory, which is a very prevalent theory when it comes to Atlantis, we hinted at it earlier, but Atlantis never existed. It is just a story invented by Plato to make his works more powerful.
Also, definitely possible.
I was going to say, I think that is very, very possible, especially for like the Greece and all that, when they already believed in their own mythology. What's adding another story to it that ties in, that would be like, yeah, this makes sense to our mythology.
Yeah,
you get enough people. Go ahead.
I was just saying, especially when you are when you're thinking of the Greeks, they thrived on power, being all powerful. So telling about a ancient subculture of theirs that was all powerful and using it as a way to bring down egos of the current cultures to not oversell themselves is probably a smart thing to do in that ancient time.
Yeah, I mean, you get enough people to follow, whatever it is that you're spouting. You inevitably or inadvertently, gain traction, gain power that way. So definitely possible too.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking about if it's real or not, if we think it exists. So do you think Atlantis exists, or are you more on the side of it is just a made up story?
I think that a place existed at some point, either a city, town, or something that got lost in a tsunami or a natural effect, and it created a legend like Atlantis. I don't think like Atlantis itself is a thing, but it's kind of, I don't want to say like Pompeii, but like if you think of like Pompeii and what happened to Pompeii, it's like somewhat of like a legendary event in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like that, but obviously it happened much longer or way before, so the story gets skewed, be more grand than it was.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's pretty much right in line with how I feel about it too. I mean, there's
Who's
probably something.
piggybacking now?
I'm not piggybacking, bitch. I was gonna start talking, but no, you had to open your mouth.
Oh, cool.
No, but essentially, there was probably some sort of event or something that happened, but much like telephone or anything else, it starts to become something that it's not, so that it seems more grand than what it even was to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I think more so than anything, when you have something that you can't prove or no facts to go on, rather hearsay, it becomes kind of hard to keep track of.
No, and I agree. I definitely think that Atlantis itself, this idea that we have in the 21st century of this magical flying cars, surviving underwater, even being ultimate power, I think is a fairy tale. I think there was a civilization, maybe the Greek one, the Mayas that I was talking about, existed, and they were just so far ahead of other cultures that they were in awe. It would kind of be like if it's probably similar to tribes in Africa that are, or even tribes in like the rainforest, that they were to come out and walk into an industrialized city and then go back and retell the story. It's something like that. And then like they were like, okay, let's go back, and that town isn't there anymore, and it's just dirt. That's what I think happened. Is it was there, and then something happened to erase it, and they went back to check on it, and it wasn't there, but they believe this first storyteller.
To go on from that, I think it's also a possibility that someone they were so far ahead and couldn't maintain that advantage of technology, and everyone caught up to them. And so when they finally caught up to where they were at, and we're like, well, let's go see where this person or this town is at, they go back and it's like, no, it's just another one of our cities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, it's missing. Like, but I will say, I think the idea of Atlantis is super fucking dope. Like, I think it's a super cool idea. I think everyone that's ever done anything with Atlantis or how they put their own twists on it and all that is killer. I think it's a super cool idea. And I'm glad it was something that was created at some point in time.
Well, yeah, the whole idea of, it's very captivating. It's very, attention drawing. It builds wonder, it builds interest. So it certainly is kind of like a fuel for bits of exploration or scientific experimentation and things like that too. So I think it's been valuable across the board.
This is probably one of the few myths or the mysteries and wonders that we're going to look at where we can't say definite, but there is like a 90% possibility that this is completely fictional just from a scientific standpoint. With our ability to map the ocean, cameras, and everything that we've done in these locations that it is believed to Atlantis was described by Plato, there's nothing there. The fact that people use the same work and come up with 13 different locations and say this is what they found of Atlantis is another proof that, not proof, but a good fact to it being fake and not being a real location. So experts undeniably agree Atlantis never existed. They believe if at this point, if it did exist, we would have found some concrete evidence of their culture, be it a grave tomb or a some kind of historical artifact.
And that's where, I argue, can we really say that though? Because we haven't explored all that there is
Mm-hmm.
to find. So
We-
the argument
we
is,
still lose planes and shit.
if we have explored everywhere, I could agree with that sort of, conclusion. But if we haven't, there's always, scientifically, there is always a chance that there is information that we have not gathered or things that we have not seen.
No, 100%, especially if the Bermuda Triangle theory is a correct theory. We have tankers and planes and like 20 planes, 30 boats that have went missing
Yeah.
in the Bermuda Triangle. So obviously we can lose things that are pretty massive, and we can assume that things that were built in that era in the 300 BCs and earlier weren't as massive as some tankers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would assume most of a village was the size of a tanker, even in an advanced city at that point. So yeah, it's definitely, science isn't always obviously isn't a telltale. I was just given what the scientific experts will say, because apparently it's one of those, it's like the forbidden song in music stores and things like that. So it's one of those no-nos in the scientific community to bring up if you're like new to the area or something like that.
You looked a little confused when he said that. What
It was the no song part. I was like, what the
Oh
fuck
yeah,
do you
dude, you
mean,
can't
no-no
play
song?
like Wonderwall and stuff in guitar.
Yeah, if you go into a guitar, so there's like I don't know what it is, but there's a band song that if you even play a note, they will kick you out.
It's multiple. There's like Nirvana's Teen. I can't even think of the fucking actual names. Teen Spirit, and then smells like Teen Spirit, and then Wonderwall. It's just songs that got popularized that like everyone knew the riff of. Also, Wayne's World, I think, popularized one of the songs. I don't know which one. And so it became like a meme too. And then shops were just like, yeah, no, we don't. They just hate it because that's what people do is they come in, they play riff to the same song over and over and over.
Yeah, it's called the forbidden riff. It's any riff from a song that's been so badly overplayed at a music store that it creates instant wave of cringe that washes over the staff. So Stairway to Heaven, Smoke on the Water, Smells Like Teen Spirit, Enter Sandman, Queen.
Interesting.
Each shop has different band songs, but
and most of them are cool about it. Like, there's videos of like really good guitar players who go in there and like, oh, I don't know how to play guitar, and then they play the forbidden riff, and there's like, ha ha ha, but choose a different song.
Funny.
But with that, guys, that is another podcast episode. We thank you guys. We want to thank you guys. Something very special. We say this all the time. We never expected people to listen to our podcast. But in less than 6 months, you guys got us to 300 listens. And you might, in your mind, you're like, oh, it's 300 listens. It's literally 200 more than we ever thought we would have. We thought maybe friends and family would listen to our podcast. And we could tell you, we know for a fact that only like 75 of our come from friends and family. So we thank you guys, whoever you are, for listening.
Thank you.
It means the world.
Yeah, I love you.
And more to come.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to keep going. We're 18 episodes in. Like most podcasts have like 500, so we got a long way to go. We're going to keep doing this as long as we, are friends.
Xavier, change the run in your blood. Sorry.
Yeah, I gotta go, guys.
Yeah, see you when we're 35. Not you, Randy.
I'm be dead.
That's awful.
What's up?
Hey,
yeah.
10 years is a long time from now, man.
You're not 25. Oh wait, we're 26.
9 years is a long time from now, man. But anyways, you know what time it is, as always, Alec.
Yeah. Shout out to all the people who make popcorn on a stove and not in a microwave. If you make it in the microwave, get yourself a pot and some butter and or oil and make it on the stove. It's just so much better. If you make it if you're making it in a microwave, you got some issues. Like you're not living a good life. All right, step it up.
I made
about
a
the
popcorn and
convenience.
he's been eating it the whole time.
I have been. It's fucking delicious. Let me tell you.
And then it leads us to our next section, as always, the not shout out. Wow, it's been a while. The next section is the sellout.
They don't know that.
Sellout. As always, head over to our merch store, sirbude.com/merch to see all the amazing drawings and merch that Alec has made. Head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/hypotheticallysound. I'm really messing this up, so don't go anywhere. Just tune in next time. And then hypotheticallysound.podbean.com to hear all of the podcasts or listen to whatever site you like to listen to it on. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Just search Hypothetically Sound. You'll find us. We thank you. My dog wants to go outside, so I'm going to go take him out. And until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Achoo.
Bless you.
Kara, what are you doing? That's my popcorn. This is why I shouldn't have made it rain. I knew it. No, it's mine. Bad doggy. My popcorn. Get. Silly dog.
Thank you for listening to Hypothetically Sound. We hope you enjoyed the episode. All episodes can be found at hypotheticallysound.podbean.com, as well as on Apple, Spotify, and Pandora. For full unedited video versions of the podcast, please visit us at youtube.com/hypotheticallysound.